So this is where my plan comes to fruition. We gather up all the Fujoshi and put them in a camp with Schmeckel as a guard. If they don't kill themselves just because they're locked up, I figure all his adventures would make them stop. What do you think?
I think you watch entirely too much anime sometimes. But I don't have much room to talk because I play entirely too much World of Warcraft. But you know what? We all have our addictions.
Yeah, we do. That's why we're the two bastards.
Fair enough.
The orc bastard and the student bastard.
Yeah. So the orc bastard has a really bad lore going on right now.
Yeah, I need to watch the Snatch Cats a little bit more so I can find out what kind of lore is going on right now.
There's all kinds of terrible. I helped create this lore where I'm apparently chained up to a post that's been cemented.
I was part out a little bit yesterday on Twitter.
Yep. Basically,
because apparently Vamp Candy's in a cellar now.
No, Schmeckel keeps trying to put Vamp into his cellar, which is funny because I'm like, well, Vamp's not technically in that cellar. Yeah, she puts people in cellars. She doesn't go in people's cellars.
Very true. I would give you a place to stay at the Sundari Dome, but I'm kind of keeping someone in a shed because he's a nuisance to society.
Oh no, that's fine. Schmeckel has officially sold me to Memory Holiday, so now I'm going to be chained up to her post in her backyard while serving Jeff Holiday Cabana Boy drinks and shit like that, like with a banana hammock. I'm not allowed to wear clothing aside from the banana hammock, I would think. And they at least give me a tent. I'll say this much. The holidays at least give me a tent so I'm not just completely exposed to the elements, whereas Schmeckel just leaves me to the poop in the backyard.
Well, I think we've established that he beats on you every day.
He does. He beats on me every time he drinks, and he drinks every day.
Which is why this is probably the only stream where you're not going to be forced to strip and do the trouble shuffle.
It's not the only one, but I definitely appreciate the sentiment.
Well, at least not here to pressure you into doing it.
Fair enough.
Because I always use her to get you to do it. So, what? I've been wondering, have you been watching anything this season for like anime?
I have actually been watching, but have kind of fell behind on a few episodes. At least one new anime. No, I'm sorry, two new animes. I just have not actually been keeping up with them ever since a friend of mine was so generous in allowing my World of Warcraft account to be active again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've taken it kind of easy this season because there's not that much for me to watch, but oof, fall's going to be busy.
I do have two recommendations. Aside from Overlord Season 2, because apparently that became a thing, which, from what I hear, Overlord is actually a very popular, very interesting anime. There is one that came before it. I actually looked into this, and the information that I had found actually showed that, one, Overlord was never based off of a manga. It was an OAV, straight from the bat. And then
I thought it was like a light novel or something because
it did become a light novel, but only about a year later did an actual manga company create a legit light novel manga after it. But it started off as an OAV. Here's the beautiful part. There was an actual light novel manga that came out before it, though.
Interesting.
A few months before Overlord dropped in in Japan, there was another series called How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. Same basic concept. Nerdy guy, shut in, doesn't have any real life friends.
Yeah, I've read the manga. Basically, he's in those situations where he could do things, but he's such a shut in, he doesn't know how to respond.
Oh, no. He that's the beautiful part about Diablo. He knows how to respond, but he's you get to hear the inner monologue of him just freaking the fuck out, unsure of every move, which surprisingly still works out for him in the end, because even though he's bullshitting the entire time, it still works.
Yeah, I need to probably watch it sometime because it's a harem, and I kind of love harems.
It is a harem, but not in the typical traditional sense of what we do know and understand harems to this day. Now, is it extremely perverted? Yes. Are there unnecessary giant titty jiggle effects? Yes. Is there overly sexualized innuendos and jokes everywhere? Yes. Are there nip slips? Nope. Plenty of panty shots. One of the things that I do appreciate about this anime is it goes back to the old 90s fashion of how things went with Tenchi Muyo, Oh My Goddess, and
where
Love
they
Hina.
come close, but they don't just show you titty.
Yeah. They tease the idea of the full frontal to you, but much like Tenchi Muyo, Love Hina, and fucking Oh My Goddess, they didn't actually show any of it for one reason or another. I think the animators and the writers basically decided, I personally think it's sexier not to reveal the full titty.
Leave it up to the imagination, whereas DxD is just like titties everywhere.
Yeah. Everybody looks at High School DxD, my personal favorite anime. They look at it and they think to themselves, "Oh, this is practically hentai," and then I have to laugh and go, "Have you ever seen Testament New Testament Sister New Devil?"
That comes up on my streams a lot, but we're talking about it's basically better than most hentai.
No, it is because it has an actual driving fucking story that actually makes sense. But I just got to point out, look. You want to talk about how fucking High School DxD is practically hentai? It is tame in comparison to New Devil. Are you fucking kidding me? That shit had an entire scene where a dude rubbed a chick down with honey because his succubi Lolly, who is definitely of age, basically told him to do it. I watched that show just to make sure I didn't have anything wrong in translation in both the sub and dub, and I was completely surprised. No matter which way, it doesn't matter which version you're watching. You're just gonna sit there with an awkward boner, wondering to yourself, "Why don't I just watch a hentai?" Because this is every element of a hentai, minus the fucking. That could be happening off screen, but you don't know. You don't fucking know. And I had to make sure because the Lolly character was very disturbing because I'm like,
which one? Because there's Maria and then there's her mother.
I'm specifically talking about Maria, the one that we mainly see. The mother we already know is of age simply because she actually pronounces how old she is at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about the Maria character, I'm just like, I want to know what her age. She's like over 100 years old. I'm like, okay.
You can't be a lolicon. She's over 100 years old. That's the rule.
No. She. Well, see, that's the point. Like, you can't. It's not so much that I was enjoying Maria. No. I was enjoying the fact that she kind of defeated the trope that you typically see in harem hentai or whatever, where the dude accidentally walks in on the girl while she's taking a shower and the guy gets pummeled, because the succubi is actually the one who, or the succubus is the one who is constantly putting him in these situations. And because of it, because the characters know of this, she's the one who's getting beat the shit up. She's the one getting tied up. She's the one getting punished. Yeah, the guy gets hit every once in a while because he does take that extra step with them. But for the most part, it's the succubus, Maria, who's getting punished for the perverted deeds of the main protagonist. And I find that so refreshing and so different. So I just enjoy it. And I still have to deal with the fact that this looks like a little kid. And I have to sit there and wonder to myself, is it okay for me to watch this? And then I just remind myself, no. She's a demon that's over 100 years old. Ah, yes. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. Speaking of when the trope gets reversed around a little bit, have you ever heard of Aho Girl?
No. And if that's a Shota, I reject it.
No, Aho Girl. It's basically about a stupid girl who gets punched a lot by the main character who's like a male tsundere.
Oh my god. Is that what that clip is from where there's a meme going around where this anime chick basically lifts her skirt to show her panties and the guy punches
her filthy panties and she says something about how to, let me find the video because I got a clip.
That's good. I saw that clip and I was just like, yes. I love when anime or even manga take the typical trope that you would see where, you know, oh, it's a perverted girl and a very shy boy, and the boy, like, you know, he just has a nosebleed moment, or the girl like uses her sexuality to make him uncomfortable, whatever the case is. Those are enjoyable, but every once in a while it is far more enjoyable when you have the perverted girl trying to seduce a dude who ain't having none of your shit.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that clip, I was just like, I don't know what anime that is, but I kind of am intrigued by it simply because it looks interesting.
Maybe I got full screen this because I found the right clip. Okay.
See, I absolutely love when that's so weird.
And the reaction of everyone when she says she doesn't have skin marks on her panties is like,
Oh, okay. That's a good thing.
that's just what makes me laugh the hardest about that series. That's just like the first episode. And, I just wanted to show that because it makes me laugh every time I see it. Because he's just not in the mood for her shit. He's never in the mood for her shit. But it's good to see that trope getting reversed a little bit, where you got the idiot girl for a change and the male tsundere that just doesn't have a tolerance for her shit.
Yeah, I see that, and that's what I mean. I love moments like that in anime when they take a typical trope and they basically just they
Turn it out on its head.
They turn it on its head. They reverse it, whatever the situation is, and that's one of the things that I found actually refreshing about Testament of Sister New Devil. That the fact that Maria, the succubus character, is known to be a pervert, is known to try to put these characters in perverted situations, who then later gets heavily seduced herself. Mm-hmm. Because she is the one who is known to do these things, it's just that much more interesting to watch when she's the one who's actually being punished instead of the main protagonist. Because typically in those anime, you'll see the girls freak out because the guy just peeped in on them or something. Like
I asked that too. They're usually in an unlocked room. It's like a classroom. He's like, and there they are, naked or something like that. Like,
yeah.
I know. It's like, don't these schools have locker rooms?
Yeah, like one of my favorite harem anime. I have the entire collection of the manga, Rosario Vampire. It's a good example of the girls who are consistently trying to do extremely perverted things with the main character. And one in particular, who is also a succubus, is always trying to fuck him.
The succubus who was actually the best girl.
I can't disagree with that, actually.
Because when you read the manga, she does anything for him. She risked her life to save his life.
Actually, she risked her life to save his life and others' lives multiple times. When you actually think about the manga representation of these characters and the anime representation of these characters, you get the same vibe. Mocha is best girl because she was first girl. That's pretty much the tone you are believed to actually have.
For my proposed trope of the main girl syndrome, where they don't really grow as a person.
Again, I have to disagree with you and others when it comes to that argument, simply because there isn't much growth for Mocha to go on, but there is still enough growth because Mocha isn't just one character. She is literally two characters. And in the manga, you are forced to watch the two personalities fuse into one perfect waifu, essentially. because that's the end goal inevitably for Skune is like who is the best waifu kind of thing, and Mocha is the one who actually does become the legitimate best waifu in the anime. Of course, you eventually at the end of season 2 you get both personalities back again because everybody loves the bubbly sugar pink haired Mocha over the silver pink hair platinum hair I guess Mocha who's more of a tsundere and everything like that. Because look, guys like you, and there are even a few girls out there who love tsunderes. Got to remember, you guys are actually very minuscule in comparison to the rest of the anime community. The majority of the anime community love the shy girls, the shy anime girls, or the shy anime boys, stuff like that. There's a reason why there are certain characters that are typically known as best girl. So when it came to the argument of who was best girl in a shit series like, I don't know, Darling in the Franxx, there was a massive outroar about who was best girl. Was it 02 or was it Ichigo? Realistically, Ichigo had no chance because she was just a cunt. But
also, she's a childhood friend.
No. You got to remember, most childhood friend characters do end up becoming best girl in the end. It is an objective truth when it comes to harem anime, or when it comes to romances in anime. The childhood friend is typically considered best girl. The only time that has ever not worked was with a series called Shuffle, which was really fucking weird halfway through. Like the first half was typical harem anime. The second half was, okay, so he makes a decision and nothing goes that way.
Based off a visual novel too, so
fair enough. Well, no, because you got to remember, most visual novels are made into anime nowadays, or at least the really popular visual novels.
And they're never adapted very well. The best adaptations I can think of are like Amagami and always bad the name of it. Yosuga no Sora. That one was basically hentai.
Again, most harem anime will go the route of hentai, except the old 90s.
Yeah.
The old 90s one set a standard that most harem anime to this day does not necessarily follow. I do love, however, that High School DD has taken all the tropes and thrown it completely out the fucking window and said, fuck you, we're going to do our thing. Why? Whenever Issei finds himself in these perverted situations where he accidentally walked in on a girl,
he just goes with it.
No, he doesn't just go with it. The girls do too. The only time you ever saw an actual fight against him on those situations was Konako in season 1, because she was constantly fighting her own emotional feelings for him. That's it. That was it. Her feelings for Issei were not recognized, were not explored, and she didn't know what she was feeling. So she consistently punched him in the fucking face or beat the shit out of him because she didn't know how to handle these emotions. Come season 2, right around her, I guess you could say, loyalty mission, they encounter her older sister, and they kind of beat her older sister, or at least, Issei refuses to let Konako go. And ever since then, Konako is all over Issei's dick, both figuratively and literally, because the following night we see he wakes up in the middle of the night. Rias is naked, sleeping next to him as usual. So is Asya. And then out of nowhere, he feels something between his legs. He can't quite understand it. And there, under the blanket, is Konako resting her head on his dick. Again, both literally and figuratively. From that point on, we consistently will see Konako sitting on Issei's lap, or resting next to Issei, or doing something cutesy with Issei, or getting naked and putting on some kind of sheer half dress type thing for Issei. Konako consistently will go above and beyond the rest of the girls, despite being the underdeveloped youngest girl of group. The token lolly, yes. She will go above and beyond everybody else because she has given into him and his perversions. From that point on, Never has Issei been punched in the face for being a pervert except by other girls who are not the main core girls. Again. Whereas Skune will still get occasionally punched in the face by fucking Mocha because he caught a glimpse at her panties, or he will get a wash pan dropped on his head because he accidentally fell in a wrong way to one of the girls, whatever the case is. The other girls will still react poorly to his perversions, not as heavily as you might expect, but whenever Skune finds himself in those situations, Yukari, Mocha, they do the oh my god you pervert and the slap thing.
And then there's Ruby Tojo, who's a masochist.
No, Ruby Tojo, yes, she is a masochist, but even she does assault him for doing accidental perverted things, despite how much she wants to actually fuck the shit out of him.
I remember in the manga where she was like chained to him or something like that, so he could learn to use his powers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Every time she got zapped, she was getting off.
Yeah, that was the most interesting part, was because that was when you saw the true masochism coming out in Ruby, and it was just like, what the fuck is going on? And I think it was Kurumu and Mizure were the only two characters out of the entire core harem fucking group. They were the only two characters that when perverted things happen to them, Kurumu would pretend to be all like, no, don't do it, but consistently offer him to fondle her tits, to see her tits, to look at her panties and all that stuff like that. Really, the only reason why she reacted that way is because she thought that's what Skune wanted, because that's how Mocha reacted. That's how, innocent Mocha reacted.
Also, the way the succubus lore works in that universe is that they'll die if their heart breaks or something like that.
Yeah, something along those lines. And then there's Mizure. Mizure is she doesn't fucking care.
No, she's a kudere.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, think of Ayanami Rei, that sort of emotionless character. They're nonchalant about everything. They don't really show much emotion.
Okay, yeah, I got you. So that's what that phrase. That's what the girls or the guys who are emotionless and don't really care about anything.
Yeah.
But they do still have emotion despite their cold exterior.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's sort of like Raven, I guess, because when I looked it up on TV tropes, she's shown.
Yeah. But yeah, so like in Rosario Vampire, though, that's what you had with those characters. You still had the characters that would go with the actual typical trope of the main character did a perverted thing, so let's slap the shit out of them. It's different and refreshing compared to series that came after it, like, say, one that I get that is a guilty pleasure for me because it is absolute trash, but I still enjoy it. To Love Ru.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with that series because it takes forever for it to get interesting, because you pretty much have to skip all the way to Darkness where...
Wow. Takes you that long? Because Darkness doesn't show up for like 15 episodes.
No, I mean the series To Love Ru Darkness.
Oh my god, that's 4 seasons worth. Well, I argue 4 seasons because of all the OVAs in between seasons 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, the problem is basically the nonsense one episode and then it's done kind of storylines that seem kind of stupid.
Oh wow. No, To Love Ru is actually a pretty interesting series on its own when you consider the base core. The only reason why I say it's a guilty pleasure is because all of the tropes in animes that you see when it comes to harem anime are amplified to a level that is not needed. It is in the first season, in just simply To Love Ru, it is a typical harem anime. All right, fine, whatever. Except it's designed around aliens and shit like that, and a seemingly immortal fucking human Earthling, which is very confusing. How Yuki Rito is actually as immortal
Still
as he is.
alive.
But yeah, because everybody, especially Lala, is kind of on the verge of killing this poor boy. So,
Especially Lala, because I like to liken her to the retard in the group that makes things worse.
oh no, she's not the retard. She's the super duper genius who clearly has autism, and that autism works against the man she's in love with so fucking often that you have to wonder, is she retarded?
It's sort of like Deadpool. He's made the situation bad. He's going to make it worse.
Yeah. And if anybody actually does try to argue the whole, she doesn't have autism. Look at her character. No, pay attention to her character. Yes, she is an alien, but you have to understand she has two younger sisters, twins, obviously, who fully understand human culture, human nature, and how to blend in way better than she does. They're younger. They are also super geniuses. They're nowhere near at the level of genius that she is in intelligence and everything like that. And in one of the OVAs, you get to meet her mother, who is actually the same level of intelligence. And again, all of these characters are fully capable of integrating into human society. Lala is the only one out of that entire family that has no fucking clue how to do it.
Yep.
She's
And Momo can actually express her feelings without putting his life in danger every episode.
Yes. Momo, unfortunately, does end up putting his life in danger simply because of an outside source, usually caused by Lala. But still, you have the three characters of Lala, Momo, and Nana. Okay, Nana is clearly the tsundere and the technical lolly because she's the underdeveloped sister with practically no boobs and shit like that. She's incapable of showing her emotions because she doesn't know what these emotions are. She rejects them. She doesn't like them because she didn't want to fall in love with her sister's fiance, but she did. Unfortunately, she can't do anything about that, and she like the main character, Yuki, does not actually think there is a chance for the two of them to be together because they're still thinking on the Japanese laws, Earthling laws level and stuff like that. Whereas Lala and Momo have surpassed that and gotten to the whole polyamorous concept.
Let's just share.
Yeah, like where they all get a turn at some point or another. But like even still, the point I'm trying to make with the whole Lala is autistic is look at her character. She's incredibly happy all the time. She's super chipper, even when she fucks up, even when she does something bad. And the only time you can ever see her feel bad and sad emotions is when she has hurt Yuki to the point where he actually does almost legitimately die, or when she has done something where she believes she has ruined the chances of one of her best friends. Lala, otherwise, does not understand the basic human common sense, social interactions and stuff like that. She just does things as she wants. She's clearly on the spectrum.
Yep, I can see that.
But anyways, that was not the whole fucking point. It's a guilty pleasure. It's a trash anime. I don't recommend people watch it. It's one of those animes where I can't recommend it, but I do tell people if you want to laugh at a, I would say, poorly written, but still very fucking funny anime, like you're going to hate yourself if you do enjoy this. You're going like if you already enjoy anime and you hate yourself to a certain degree because you enjoy anime, you're just like, fuck, I'm a weeb. God damn it. Something along those lines, whatever the case is. This is one of those animes that amplifies the shit out of it because the fan service is abundant and it's just, the goddamn jokes. It's the most slapstick comedy anime I think I have ever fucking watched. And once you get to Darkness, that's when everything goes even crazier. You thought season 1 was bad with how much fucking fan service you get with Lala and a few other characters. Oh, no. Once you got the full cast, by the time Darkness comes around, it's a full-on fucking tentacle grope fest.
Oh, I forgot about all that shit.
Oh, yeah. It's just Once it gets to season 3, and like I said, there are plenty of OAVs or OVAs, however you actually pronounce it.
OVA. That's how I do it.
Whatever.
Original video animation or something like that.
Original video animation or original animated videos. Basically, either one is acceptable. One is Japanese, one is American, and both companies, Funimation and whatever company Funimation is taken from Japan, has basically said the same thing. It's the same shit. We just reversed 2 letters / words. That's it. That's all it was. It's so either one is acceptable. If you're a fucking goddamn stickler, if you're one of those people that demands it be pronounced anime, I'll backhand the shit out of you. If you
I
demand,
don't do that. I can't do it. It sounds really pretentious when you do that. I just say anime.
yeah, the only kind of stickler type thing in that situation that I personally get is when it comes to manga versus manga.
Yeah,
I'm just like, okay, first of all, you would say manga if you really wanted to fucking pronounce it correctly, because there is no other letter or vowel to give the A fucking sound to the manga. Okay. And second of all, that's their fucking word. Say it right. The only reason why anime is actually more appropriate for an English speaker to say, because it's derived from the word animation. Fuck you. That's our word. We made it that way. That is how we pronounce it. Animation, not animation, because that's how they pronounce an fucking words. On. All right. Look at the way they pronounce words. Look at the way we pronounce words. Pay attention to who came up with the fucking word first. The reason why they shortened it up to anime is because it was originally Japanese animation, and then it became Japanimation. Then it just became anime.
I know. I've explained that several times in the past because back when I used Facebook, there's always all the don't call them cartoons thing came up. Well, these idiots would say, "Well, it is the word for cartoon in Japanese." Like, oh, you colossal faggot.
Yeah, there's a certain level of, okay, you need to stop, that I will go down when it comes to shit like this. Well, basically the pronunciations of certain words and stuff, and everybody, it's like, why do you say anime instead of anime? Because anime is the actual appropriate way to say it. The only reason why you would say anime is if you actually speak Japanese and are speaking Japanese to someone. Otherwise, you might as well just say anime, because it's derived from the word animation, and that's our word. That's one we created. That's an English language word. Well, then why do you say manga instead of manga? Because that's their word. That's their word. That's their fucking word for comic book, you piece of shit. I say comic book. I make a difference. I will go that extra mile to specifically make the difference and point out the difference. Western style comic book art versus Eastern style anime / manga. The reason being is because there is an obvious difference between the way we draw our cartoons and our comic books. There is not much of a difference between the way they draw their manga and their anime. Their cartoons, anime, are pretty much designed in the same fashion as the manga. That's it.
Yeah, that's another thing. There's also like a specific difference between manga and comic books. Comic books are usually like superhero shit. Manga, well, usually.
Manga
can refer to anything like some slice of life romance or some slapstick comedy where it's a parody of the Kintoki story. Because that's what Gintama basically is a parody of the Cicada Kintoki story.
Well, okay, so much like manga and anime, comic books actually have a multi type of genres. That the only real reason why, whenever we think of superheroes, when we think of comic books, is because the biggest names in comic book history just so happen to be the costume superheroes of Marvel and DC. There are lots of other types of comic books that existed before this genre and still exist to this day. Adventure comics, horror comics, romance comics, slice of life comics, and casual comics. And when I say casual comics, I mean they are essentially slice of life, but heavier on the comedy, just to be more
something like Garfield.
something along the akin to Garfield, or like when somebody takes Archie comics and basically super anime pervs it up and shit like that. Not so much with the actual art, just the general shit. You could even argue independent comics is an actual genre in and of itself, because at one point that was a legit genre, because people didn't know Image, Top Cow, Valiant, and so many other comic book publication companies existed and stuff, and they're considered independent comics because Marvel and DC are still to this day two of the only companies that if you create a character for the company owns that character. You don't technically own that character. You'll get royalties.
Which is what happened with Ethan Van Sciver, where he gets royalties for all the land coins he made.
Yes, he created a bunch of characters, and since, of course, they've made the new rules since the 1980s because of all the court situation that they had in the 80s and the 90s when it came to characters. Creators like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Bob Kane, and fuckload of others. Marvel and DC eventually changed their rules to where now if you created a comic book character, yes, the company does own the character, but you still get royalties for creating the character. And hence the reason why Ethan Van Sciver gets a fuckload of royalty checks, because he's created a fuckload of characters for DC. Some of my favorite fucking characters too. Like I didn't know he created Atrocitus and the Red Lantern.
I didn't know he created Red Lanterns. I learned about them like years ago. I was like, looked into them a little bit. Wow, they get power from being angry. I like this.
I didn't know he created Jessica Cruz. Here's a secret not a lot of people know about me. I really enjoyed the new Green Lantern comic books when it was New 52 / post Brightest Day scenario. After the Brightest Day scenario, I fucking loved what had happened with the Green Lanterns, because Sinestro came back temporarily as the Green Lantern, traveling around with Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan, of course, was continuing on his stupid trope of being the greatest Green Lantern / this lantern that ever existed, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, whatever. Only to find out later that that's technically not the case. It's just these prophecies keep pointing at Hal Jordan, and Hal's like, I don't know why this keeps happening to me. It's not true, because I've proven it's not true over and over again. Green Lantern, yes. Everything else, no. So it was just very entertaining. And then we eventually get to this this character. I forget his goddamn name right now. I am feeling ashamed of myself for forgetting his name. But he's a ex-con Muslim character who technically isn't really Muslim. Simon Baz, yes, Simon Baz. I love Simon Baz because he's an ex-con who went to prison and eventually broke out of prison because he fucking murdered somebody by accident. He's supposed to be Muslim, but he actually rejects the Muslim fucking religion as time goes on because he realizes the truth. Fuck these people. And he becomes a Green Lantern. And he has a fucking bunch of struggles, which is really fucking cool. I liked Simon Baz, especially since he, at first, used a legitimate, real fucking gun. And he has the malfunctioning ring that Hal Jordan used to wear that eventually started going haywire and stuff like that. Only to inevitably be teamed up with Jessica Cruz. Who Jessica Cruz is, you might ask? She is a character who ends up getting a ring that she shouldn't have gotten in the first place. It was I believe the Phantom ring. And she is so overcome with fear, she can't technically use the powers that she's supposed to have, but the ring has chosen her and won't fucking leave ever. She can't just get rid of this thing. She is so fearful of everything that she can't actually create constructs. She can fly. She can go through space. She can use it in its utility sense, but she cannot create constructs and stuff. So she's consistently teamed up with Simon Baz simply because he's the offense, whereas she's the defense.
Translation. Listen, Marvel, this is how you make a good character.
It's, oh my God, these two characters were so interesting. And then, of course, DC kind of went a little crazy with it and semi-ruined these characters because certain writers and artists decided to go too far with them and stuff. And I just kind of look at it like, you took a gorgeous, wonderful thing and you ruined it. But yeah, I loved these characters. They were so interesting. They were so cool. I loved the change. That's what I loved. I loved the fact that these characters were changed. In the Green Lantern Corps argument, whenever it comes to the concept of diversity and change, look no further than the Green Lantern Corps comic books. It's the greatest fucking goddamn sense of diversity you will ever get. They are not only diverse in race, in skin color, in religion, but they are also diverse in political ideologies, political beliefs, and just a general idea of how things should be. Kilowog is one of the greatest fucking Green Lanterns you will ever actually encounter, along with a handful of others. Jade is a personal favorite of mine, just because I like the fact that they really couldn't come up with anything original. Like, what are we going to name this hot green chick? Jade. All right.
They just kept it simple.
They kept it so fucking simple. It was hilarious.
They kept it simple, and fuck you if you have a complaint.
Yeah. It wasn't a big deal. It's funny. It's like, what are we gonna call it? Jade. It would be like calling this character Emerald. Yeah, I know, but I don't have anything else to call her. Might as well call her Jade.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing with like Marvel. I was streaming with Lionel the other night. I just used my nickname for America. I called her Lesbian Lopez.
Marvel has been doing nothing but consistently fuck up their own characters. Beloved characters that we have known for over 70 years, beloved characters that we have known for over 50 years, 60 years, it doesn't matter. These are mainstay characters. These are characters that have been well established for several decades now. And every single time the argument of originality, every single time the argument of create something new. Well, we did. No, you didn't. You took an already established character, somebody who's existed for several decades, and you completely changed everything about them to better suit your needs of what you say is needed in comic books. Well, here's
took the mantle away from someone else and gave it to some token minority, as if to say,
"Oh yeah,
make it on their own."
That was the saddest part of that whole argument, was because they would consistently say, like, well, we have a new Iron Man. Okay. Don't create a new Iron Man. If you wanted Tony Stark out of the fucking picture, you should have actually written, and I still stand by this, a better fucking reason why Riri Williams joined the team. Here's how I would have done it. Here's the way I would have given you your diverse cast of the big three. Steve Rogers continues to actually be depowered because of the fucking the sapping of the
serum.
The serum, yeah, basically. And he has given the shield to Sam Wilson. Now, here's one of the funny things about me. I was actually one of the few people who is a fan of Captain America and said, so the Falcon is now Captain America. That's fine. At one point, Clint Barton, Hawkeye, was Captain America. At one point, Frank Castle, even though nobody accepted it,
I remember that.
Punisher was Captain America. So Sam Wilson becoming Captain America is completely acceptable and understandable. Not to mention the fact a lot of his fucking fans, a lot of fans of Captain America love the concept of being a fucking a goddamn missile from above, because he's essentially flying through the air, because he's still technically the Falcon, only to drop on enemies' unsuspecting heads with that fucking goddamn shield. Now, what I wanted them to do was actually give more of a reason why Sam can actually wield that thing and use it the way he can, just like
Yeah.
Cap does. Because, you know, when Bucky did it, he was using his robotic left arm. Understandable. Completely understandable. He's teamed up with Cap so many times, he knows how to use that thing just like Cap.
Or in
So
the case of Taskmaster, he's copied Cap's body movement so he can do it.
There you go. Yes, yes. Taskmaster does basically the same thing. And, you know, he's just the villain side of it and everything like that.
Well,
so all of those characters. No.
He's somewhere in the middle.
No. I still stand by what I say. Taskmaster is a villain. He's not an anti-hero. He's not an anti-villain. He's a dick. He's a fucking asshole.
I like Taskmaster.
I'm not saying he's a bad character. I like Taskmaster too, but Jesus, he's an asshole. Accept it.
He's a lovable asshole.
He's not Eddie Brock / Venom. He's not a character who started off as a villain that eventually learned to stop being a villain and on his own became his own version of a goes too far fucking hero. He's not Wolverine. He's not in any of these things. For fuck's sake, they even attempted that shit with Carnage, and you know it didn't really matter because Cassidy came back and he was still a villain. He's a villain. Just accept the fact that Taskmaster is a fucking villain and move on with your life. Accept the fact that you like Marvel's answer to Deathstroke, so to speak.
Well, he is. I've made that argument in the past. Because he's like that jack of all trades character that...
No, here's the thing. Deathstroke is actually DC's answer to Captain America. People tend to forget this. They have a very similar backstory. Obviously, one took place in World War II, the other one took place during Vietnam. But Deathstroke is actually DC's answer to Captain America. He's evil Cap. That's what that argument is. Deadpool is a technical clone of both Deathstroke and Wolverine. That's it. He's a sort of Superboy clone character based off of these two characters. Rob Liefeld is a great guy, and he has created some of my
pouches.
He's the master of pouches. He even went as far as actually drawing an entire fucking pouch character, which was amazing. I loved him for it.
He did.
But Rob Liefeld is somewhat infamous for not only his choice in art, but also the fact that he has just rehashed old characters that people have enjoyed in one way or another. So when you actually look at the character of Deadpool, he is a sort of unholy fusion of Deathstroke and Wolverine. When you actually get down to the core of his origin story and his character development over the years, he is pretty much those characters. So there you go. Even though he was originally just the initial design of him was an alt version of Spider-Man's costume, eventually it evolved into something completely different. And when you actually think about it, everybody always says like, he's just a copy of Deathstroke and Wolverine. What do you mean? Pay attention to the origin and the inevitable fucking build up to this point. You will see he is also Wolverine. That's one of those things where I have to argue with the supposed fans of Deadpool and shit, because not a lot of people actually know that. Funny enough, I wasn't even the one who initially came to that conclusion. It was actually a friend of mine who kind of led me down that road. And I was just like, that is actually interesting. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you are correct. But, no, yeah. So, yeah, the Deathstroke is actually a copy of Captain America. He's just the evil version. And then Taskmaster was a character that was created out of necessity. When you have the cast and crew of the Avengers that you do, you need something. You need someone to actually be able to go toe-to-toe with them. If Baron von fucking Strucker and Baron Zemo are essentially out of the question, and it's not yet time to face Kang the Conqueror, and whatever other villain that Thor or even Iron Man has brought to the table and shit like that, you need someone who kind of fucks everybody up. Taskmaster. And then of course the unoriginal Sportsmaster from DC, the answer to Taskmaster, and you just look at and realize Man, DC and Marvel just keep ripping each other off, don't they? They just keep copying each other. It's annoying.
They really do.
Yeah. And a lot of people actually try to say, well, Marvel does it more than DC. Irrelevant. It's simply because Marvel and DC do it equally at this point. Yes,
Yeah.
Marvel may have started off what seemed like a ripoff of the other company. You're also forgetting the fact that their writers and artists went back and forth between the companies frequently between the 1940s and the 1970s. I'm not even shitting you on that one. One of the reasons why Amalgam Comics even became a thing was because the switching of writers and artists was still going on to that day, to all the way into the 90s, when they eventually did the crossover and the Amalgam Comics thing. Writers and artists of Marvel and DC would go back and forth between the companies. When their contract was up with one company, they would at some point decide to move over to the other company. For fuck's sake, Ethan Van Sciver and John Malin have both moved from Marvel to DC. Now, John Malin is specifically a freelancer, so he was able to do that without question. He's one of those people where they contract him for X amount of books, and they say, can you give us this many pages by this time with all of this, blah, blah, blah. And John Malin fantastically will say, yeah, sure, I could do that. And he does it, and it's great. Ethan Van Sciver, on the other hand, was somebody, I think he was also freelance, but he was like more in the door freelance. Like he legitimately was contracted for Marvel or DC. But either way, both of these guys, along with Brett Smith, have worked for Marvel and DC at different points. And both of them have worked for the Green Lantern comic books at one point in their career.
Yeah. Speaking of Amalgam, apparently Marvel's doing something called Infinity Warp right now because I play one of the mobile games and they introduce these kind of new characters. And it's basically Amalgam but with Marvel characters. I'm trying to find some pictures so I can bring them up. The one's called Iron Hammer. It's like Thor and Iron Man combined. Let me. And one's called Arachnite. Looks like Moon Knight and Spider-Man. Let's see.
Moon Knight, Spider-Man.
I guess I'll have to use IGN because I don't want to use Polygon.
Oh, just look it up. Like, as much shit as I give people who look up the Wikipedia information and stuff like that, honestly, at this point, this
is Iron Hammer.
There's too much bias out there in the ether to really, argue against. Oh yeah, this is fine though. They're just, all they're doing is fusing famous characters within the same realm.
Yeah, but I kind of like these designs. Of course,
I like the designs. I just don't like what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
Weapon Hex? What the fuck?
Yeah, apparently it's Wanda, but
no. That's Wanda and Laura fused into one character. That's bullshit.
Yeah. And Ghost Rider and Black Panther. It's kind of a cool take.
That one's interesting, but I still like Cosmic Ghost Rider just because of it's such an interesting concept.
Yep. Arachnite.
Ugh. A couple of these have been, a couple of those were passable. Most of them were meh.
Yeah.
The design itself is cool. I like it. I just don't like the idea of fusing characters unnecessarily like that. Like Iron Man and Thor, I can understand why those two would actually fuse together. That does technically make sense to a certain point. You could even argue that Tony Stark was finally deemed worthy of Mjolnir, and it because of the enchantment, Mjolnir changed its form to being a two-handed mace instead of just a single one-handed warhammer and shit like that. So okay, fine, that's understandable. But the fusion of Captain America and
Doctor Strange,
Doctor Strange, that doesn't make a lot of sense at all.
Yeah.
Like, it would have made more sense for Doctor Strange to fuse with somebody closer to his camp of power and shit like that. Or somebody like, ooh, Doctor Strange and Black Panther. That would have been fucking hella interesting. I can kick your ass in two ways. It's your choice. You either get the claws or the fucking psychic paws. Which do you want? Psychic paws, time stop. Oh, it's funny because it's a pun and a play on words at the same time, which that's what a pun is.
I do like the idea of Dark Claw from the Amalgam era because it was just such a cool idea.
Dark Claw but Dark Claw made sense because the two characters worked on the same level, so it actually made sense. When you have two characters who essentially think a similar way or who function in a similar way, it only makes sense for them to actually fuse the way they did. Amalgam Comics, when they fused characters from Marvel and DC, they weren't just doing it at random, like, hey, you know it'd be cool? Storm and Wonder Woman fused together. Why? I don't know. No, the reason why they actually fused the two characters was because people saw Wonder Woman with Thor's power and thought, fuck yeah, I kind of want to see where this goes. So they fused the two characters and came up with essentially an actual legit goddess character, because Wonder Woman is a demigod and Storm is consistently looked at as a goddess of Africa. Why not fuse the two? Plus, their personalities are so similar to each other because they both have the idea of, let's not actually just flat out kill. Let's not just resort to death automatically. But if we see no other choice, I have no problems ending a person's life.
Yeah.
Very similar.
But that was a different time when they thought these things through.
Well, yeah, when
now every character's got to be a goddamn genius because apparently we're playing by Dragon Ball power levels. Genius is like a power level.
No, it's not even just that. Every fucking female character has to be a genius who just so happens to also have Saitama-ism or Saitama fucking powers and shit like that, because they're all One Punch Man.
Yeah, that brings us something about Kamala Khan. It's like they took everything that was great about Saitama, where he's a hero for a hobby, and they decided to make it a cringy fangirl. Because Saitama, he actually tries to help people.
Yeah, that's...
Meanwhile, she's going to fangirl over someone that's running a concentration camp.
Ms. Marvel ran her own concentration camp.
Oh, God, it's worse than I thought.
I'm not even shitting you. Go ahead and watch a few Diversity in Comics videos on it. I believe Yellow Flash also covered a couple of them. One of the main reasons why Ms. Marvel is such a hated character that they consistently keep pushing, no matter what anyone says. It's the only comic book that has yet to actually be completely 100% rejected by the comic book community, along with, Move the Needle / hashtag Comicsgate, all that stuff, despite being universally hated by most of comic books fans. Marvel refuses to let go of the Ms. Marvel comic books because, like, even though they had an alien lesbian portal popping history changing cunt, they eventually canceled her comic books, only to inevitably bring it back. And they even repurposed her for another comic book because, this character is the new Wolverine. If she doesn't work here, then she's going to work here. If her single issues don't work, then they're going to work over here. It's fucking sad and pathetic. But yeah, in the Ms. Marvel comic books, she legitimately starts imprisoning people herself. And her technical love interest, I guess a non-Muslim character, actually finds out and breaks them out, and she beats him up for it. And then, like, she eventually goes for an actual Muslim character. It's a fucking confusing roller coaster ride of why is this character even still considered and treated like a fucking hero when she herself was actually imprisoning people.
Where she basically conquered Latveria and All the other shit she's done.
Yeah, Ironheart. I'm not Iron Man. I'm Ironheart. Your comic books still say Iron Man. Go fuck yourself. But yeah, no, her character was poorly written because she could do no wrong. Even in the comic books, when Brian Michael Bendis himself had actually written, yeah, she's clearly been doing illegal shit this entire time. She's stolen Iron Man's armor. She has stolen Iron Man's intellectual property. She has stolen everything about Iron Man. And she had to give it all back, but didn't.
Great representation for black people right there.
Yeah. Again, diversity in comics and Yellow Flash, they do a great job of actually bringing to light this bullshit. Well, but yeah, Ms. Marvel and Riri Williams, they're two characters that are universally hated by a bunch of people. And only now does Riri Williams actually have a bit of legit character development. And to me, I'm just like, too little, too late. You made me hate this character for years to the point where I just don't fucking care anymore. I have no interest in reading her character. Again, if I had done it, if you wanted to go the route of Riri eventually becoming Ironheart and coming into her own and all that stuff, here's how you should have done it. First of all, you don't actually kill off Jim Rhodes. You put him in a fucking coma like you did with fucking Jennifer Walters, okay? She-Hulk was in a coma the entire time during the fucking oh, for fuck's sake, Civil War II scenario. After Civil War II, she wakes up. Should have done the same thing with Jim Rhodes. Put Jim Rhodes in a coma. Don't kill him. Kill somebody else. Kill a lesser character that nobody really cares about. But don't kill Jim Rhodes. What you do is you take Jim Rhodes, you make him Iron Man, and then you bring Riri Williams in as the sidekick character, and you train her up to become new Iron Man. And then eventually you put a scenario in where Jim decides he wants to retire because he's just too fucking old. Or maybe he does go into politics, whatever the case is. You do it correctly. You make Riri deal with her fucking her life choices and stuff. Continue to let her be the guy who, or the character that actually, you know, retires, or I'm sorry, quits school. But then Jim tells her to go back to school. Yes, her IQ is above anything that the schools can teach her, but it is important for her to actually get her grades and actually continue her education.
Also, not make her have a big focus on being oppressed.
Yeah, the whole oppression thing. Like, go ahead and go the route of, like, she's 16 years old, she thinks she's oppressed, and then Jim fucking reality slaps the shit out of her. You could even have a moment where he does have to legitimately slap her. And just basically tell her, wake the fuck up. You may have come from an underprivileged fucking household, but your intelligence has allowed you to go beyond that. You now have the means, the money, and the power to actually fix your neighborhood, and yet you do nothing about it. You continue to sit there and complain about those in charge when those in charge are probably doing everything they can. Again, Jim Rhodes is gung-ho fucking 100% America, fuck yeah. So that's how Jim's character is going to be. He's the black conservative of the Iron Man story arcs. So you make him actually slap the shit out of her, fucking reality check the hell out of her, and she understands as time goes on that it's actually not the people that are being oppressed by those in charge. It's the people oppressing themselves. They're putting themselves intentionally, subconsciously in these situations because they don't believe there is any other way. Yet there is always another way. And so she can crawl out of the muck of the bullshit millennial fucking, the young millennial thought process and stuff like that. You could even have her go to Sam Wilson at some point, who also came from a not so nice background, who eventually joined the military. He got out. And then here's the best part. When she does this, Sam realizes he's done nothing for his community as well. So then he starts making changes. He starts actually fighting for the little guy. Like he was at one point, Sam Wilson was legitimately fighting for the little guy, but it was in the same vein as how Captain America was in the 1950s. You know, take it to the phones and all that stuff. There's a hotline where you can call and talk about, oh, I have a problem. And he wasn't actually a worldwide thing. This is actually where we get the city city level hero concept, because Captain America is considered a city level hero or a street level hero. And the reason why is because a city level or a street level hero is someone who isn't super powerful, but has enough skills and abilities to actually take on villains roughly about the same tier as them and stuff like that.
Yep.
And they usually fight on the street. They can't fly, or even if they can fly, they're not that super powerful. And so they take things on a more, it's only within this city block kind of thing, like Hell's Kitchen for Daredevil or Manhattan for Spider-Man. That's the idea of a city level or a street level character. So anyways, so yeah, Sam Wilson could even have his little tie-in where he actually starts helping out the community a lot more, whatever the case is. And you can actually have this one character start to influence the thoughts and ideas of all the other characters to sort of push the ideas and thoughts of the readers and basically give them this idea of like, yeah, why don't we actually help out our community? We now have the money. We now have the power. We have the ability to do this. Why don't we actually help out our community? Make it a better place. Help everyone realize that there is a way out. You just need to find that thing, that one key, that skeleton key everybody else wants. For Sam Wilson and for Jim Rhodes, it was the military. For Riri Williams, it was her biological genius. Her literal fucking ability to actually have a super genius level intelligence at the age of 15. It's things like that. They could have done so many things if they really wanted to go this route. And guess what you still have? You have your black Captain America. You have your black fucking Iron Man. You even have your black female Iron Man, who is inevitably going to step up to the fucking plate and actually take over sometime in her college years, because that would have been interesting if she had, by the time she was maybe 20 years old, halfway through college, suddenly Jim has retired and now she has to take over as the official superhero in the armored suit and everything like that. But where is Tony Stark and Captain America this entire time? Enjoying retirement. Maybe Tony still did go into a coma, but then he eventually woke up. And he's just like, Jim has had everything kept together for so long. I think I'm going to take this time, run the company the way it needs to be run, back them up with all the finances and everything I can run for them and everything like that. But I'm just going to enjoy not having to save the world all the fucking time, not having to constantly risk my life. And then there's Steve Rogers also enjoying retirement. I'm an old man now. I think I'm just going to enjoy retirement. Maybe even go the route of, Steve Rogers is now the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Interesting. Why is Steve Rogers the director of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Well,
didn't they do that during Civil War?
Yeah, no.
Civil War, but Fear itself.
No, Fear itself was Tony Stark was actually the one who was director of S.H.I.E.L.D., only to eventually give the power over to Captain Marvel, who then gave it back to Maria Hill.
I seem to recall Cap was director of S.H.I.E.L.D. at some point.
Cap became director of S.H.I.E.L.D. during the Secret Empire story arc, the most recent one. Nazi Steve Rogers became the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and eventually he started taking over everything from a Nazi perspective.
I know I had a costume that was basically when he was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. in one of my Marvel games I played.
You might be thinking of when he was more so super soldier and he was running covert ops with Nick Fury. He wasn't the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. In fact, Nick Fury wasn't even the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was just one of those scenarios where technically he's the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he's not. Yeah. No, yeah, like there are ways they could have done the Marvel characters. There are ways they could have done the diversity shift and the diversity change and stuff, and it would have been it would have been better. I
remember when they did All New, All Different. Their idea replacing Hawkeye was with Red Wolf, because those engines are good using bow and arrow.
No, all new, all different was complete and utter horseshit because every time you would hear all new, all different, you're looking at it like, how is it new? How is it different? Other than the bad writing and the poor fucking
Yeah.
artwork, how is any of this different? You still have to deal with Iron Man, Cyclops, Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel. You're dealing with the same names we've known for a long time. The only real difference is who's wearing the fucking mantle. What they should have done is if it's all new, all different, these characters come out and say, I'm not Captain America. I'm Captain Falcon. There you go. Captain
Yeah.
Eagle. Like Captain Eagle, something along those lines. I'm not this character that Steve Rogers has been this entire fucking time. However, I will wear his shield. I will wear his colors. But I am fusing my name
Yeah.
and his name into one.
Just like the stupid She-Thor bullshit
Yeah.
where Absorbing Man was the only one talking any sense and he's supposed to be the bad guy.
Like they could have gone a different route with that, where it's, you know, Jane Foster picks up the hammer and everything like that. It doesn't change the enchantment. It's you know, all that changes is instead of he in you know it changing to she, it goes from he they, should they be found worthy, because that is actually a long time change in it. Originally the translation was whosoever wields this hammer, should they be found worthy, or should he be found worthy, will have all the powers of Thor. That is the original fucking way that the enchantment was supposed to be. The original way.
Yeah.
They have changed it since then in almost every fucking fashion of the comic books, from where it says, should he be found worthy, to should they be found worthy. And the reason why is because they changed it sometime after Amalgam Comics and everything like that as a sort of retcon or a soft reboot, simply because they actually liked the idea of another character who is female wielding the hammer. And guess what ended up happening? Exactly that. So it was just really fucking annoying to sit there and actually hear them going through one bullshit reason after another.
Yeah.
Just really fucking annoying to like watch them fucking do we're gonna do this because of this reason, we're gonna do this because of this reason.
They should just come out and say because it's the current year.
Yeah, it's fucking,
because then we can at least laugh at them.
it's stupid and fucking annoying, dude.
It really is.
It's really fucking
Just
stupid
like when
and
they
annoying.
killed Wolverine, I just didn't see the point.
No, actually I did see the point.
Well,
The only thing is that they tried to play it off like it was a bigger deal than it really was, just because Chris Claremont had come back to write for X-Men comic books and continue where he had left off with his Uncanny X-Men story arc from the 90s. He changed a lot of things. Madeline Pryor was still the mother of Cable. Scott Summers had retired from being the leader of the X-Men entirely, and he is now living in some mountain state somewhere with his son Nathan Summers, and Madeline Pryor is dead. This is right after the Dark Phoenix saga, where eventually Jean Grey completely dies off, and I believe Madeline Pryor had also died as well, fighting him, something along those lines. Anyways, and this was X-Men Forever, and they continued on from there. Well, in this story, Jean has been resurrected. Scott is retired. Jean is now in a relationship with Wolverine. However, they have never physically consummated their relationship. They're actually in a secret relationship. And Jean has finally given in to the actual love that she truly felt for Logan. But eventually, Logan is killed off by what we later discover is an evil Storm. Like, somehow Storm this entire time has been playing the X-Men, and she is really just this evil, power-hungry bitch who later kills Black Panther as well. And it's really fucked up, but basically this is how the story goes, because this is also before X-Men, AVX, Avengers versus X-Men.
I remember that.
This was actually X-Men Forever had this before AVX even existed. And in it, the Avengers and the X-Men have legitimate grievances with each other, because the X-Men continue to have these scenarios where their friends have caused the death of this person or that person, some member of the Avengers and stuff. Sometime after Jean Grey and sometime after Wolverine is dead, eventually Jean Grey gets in a relationship with Hank McCoy. But that's because that one I feel like Chris forced on the readers. But at the same time, I still consider Jean Grey to be the lips of death because, again, she didn't actually have sex with Hank. All they ever did was make out with each other. They never had sex, just like Logan. They never had sex. But anyone in X-Men Forever she makes out with dies shortly after, because Hank eventually dies along with Tony Stark, trying to actually stop a thing that Tony had started doing, because there was a bigger threat, and Tony made a play without telling anybody else. And then when Hank eventually figures it out, he actually helps Tony to fix what he had created, the fuck ups that he had made and everything like that. And Tony realizes he actually did fuck up and everything like that. But in the chaos, they can't actually get a message out to the Avengers to let them know, hey, this is actually Tony's fault. Don't blame the X-Men, because inevitably the X-Men come onto the doorstep of the Avengers come to the X-Men's doorstep, and they basically say, we're going to have a fight because you guys caused the death of 2 of our former members, both Tony Stark and Hank McCoy. Yeah, they still considered Hank to be an Avenger, even though he was a full-fledged X-Men again. And I'm just like, man, Chris knows how to write a fucking compelling story. Also,
That's another thing. Like the male geniuses, they at least admit when they fuck up.
Oh, yeah. That's the other beautiful part. Whenever Tony fucks up, he admits it. When Hank fucks up, he admits it. When Mr. Sinister fucks up, he doesn't admit it because he's a villain. But still, you get what my point is.
Yeah. And they're going to try and fix it. They're like, and the female geniuses are like, not my problem.
Yeah, it's like, if you had just followed my directions exactly, that wouldn't have happened. I did follow your directions exactly. This still happened.
I know. And one thing that gets on my nerves about like this whole idea of geniuses being the best thing for Marvel is, if you've ever watched Eureka, the town's full of geniuses and they're always fucking up. And the sheriff, he's like a normal guy. He goes, really? You didn't think this would happen? Because he saw that their idea could have potentially gone wrong. Within like 5 minutes of hearing what their idea was. That's kind of thing. Yeah, you might be smart, but you probably don't have common sense.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just love how we will start off with anime and eventually we bring up comic books, and the next thing you know, we're talking about comic books. It's always the reverse with us, or the same way. We'll start with one topic and then move on to the other, because you're more into anime than I am, definitely. Yeah. And I'm more into comic books than you are, but we still know enough of the 2 genres to where we can have this kind of conversation.
Yeah, because
it doesn't matter which one we start with, because we'll inevitably move on to the next.
Yeah. Just like all this started is because you want to know why King Arthur was a woman in the Fate series. And I'm just like, Japan.
Yeah. It does. I still stand by what I said. The Fate series is.
I'll fight you on that, and we end up streaming.
No, yeah, but I still find that funny. It's stupid. It really is stupid, because Japan will do these things that are questionable, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But then you actually look at the grand scheme of it, and it's just like, female King Arthur does actually make sense when you consider the lore of King Arthur. The French romanticized version of King Arthur really does depict Arthur as the perfect man, which by today's standards would actually mean that it was technically a woman posing as a man.
Yep.
But even then, like, you could still you can still make the various arguments that is actually the perfect man of chivalry and nobility and all that stuff. But even still, you can put a female in that same scenario and it still works, weirdly enough. But not so much the Mordred story. That one still doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, there's always going to be something in Fate that doesn't make any sense.
Oh, there's always something in Fate that doesn't make sense. Like, for example, the Frankenstein's monster. They start. Apparently, it's actually the Bride of Frankenstein that was actually the one that he created first in its alternate universe. And on top of that, they kept calling the character Franny simply because, you know, the monster didn't ever have a fucking name. So
Yeah.
it's also a Frankenstein because it's the child of Frankenstein, essentially, or the bride of Frankenstein. So it's like, yeah, well, I mean, your name is Frankenstein, Franny, whatever.
Fran,
Still, don't fucking rip out my heart like that again, you Fate series having motherfuckers. You goddamn type moon bitches. Why would you do that to me?
and
You're
then
almost as bad as Trigger.
and then Grand Order, basically, the main villain of the whole series is King Solomon.
I'm not opposed to that. Technically, when you look at the initial Fate series, or at least Fate. What's the remake that they did after Fate Zero?
Okay, let's see. Fate Stay
The-
Night.
I guess yeah, Fate Stay Night. Basically, with that one, you think the priest is actually the main villain of the story, along with
Gilgamesh.
you think it's Tosaka and the priest that are the villains. Realistically speaking, if you watch Fate Stay Night and Fate Zero Unlimited Blade Works combined, Gilgamesh is truly the villain throughout the entire story.
Yeah.
That you can't argue any other way, because if the main hero of Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night, I'm sorry, in Fate Zero, that was the actual where the story truly begins. But it was Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works. That's the one where you find out that Emiya is the main hero of the story entirely, because he's a character that transfers from the first season based on the main protagonist from the first season into the second season. And in the second season, you discover he himself has become a legend throughout time, just obviously in the distant future and stuff. And he has the typical hero's journey. He has to suffer through much turmoil, through pain and horrible loneliness, to inevitably become considered one of the greatest heroes of all time, kind of thing. And so he becomes the ultimate weapon against the ultimate hero, the king of heroes. Oh no, I'm sorry, the king of kings.
Well, the King of Heroes is what he's called, but Shiro comes to the conclusion that he's not really a hero because he's just a king, because all he's good at is throwing other people's heroic weapons at people.
Yeah. But it's still, when you consider it, like, who truly has the power to go up against Gilgamesh? Only one who is designed to be just like Gilgamesh.
Mm-hmm.
So Emiya is clearly the only character that can actually pull it off. But again, you have to actually look at the whole thing, because Kiritsugu is clearly the main character from the first season, Fate Zero, the true first season, which is Fate Zero, and he's the main character, but he's Kiritsugu Emiya, and then he adopts Shiro, who becomes Shiro Emiya, and then in season 2, Shiro discovers that his future self becomes one of the greatest heroes, who has power equal to or greater than that of Gilgamesh. Okay, great, fantastic. And then the series continues on from there, and they just have a whole bunch of fucking questionable moves. Like, why is Mordred still a fucking chick? And why is Mordred and Arthur still referring to themselves as men when they know that neither of them have a penis?
I don't know.
It doesn't make sense! It's like they're not even trying to hide anything anymore. It's just, in the first story, in Zero, in Fate Zero, we're being told that Arturia had to pretend to be Arthur this entire time, wear a fucking helmet, and actually just, no, nobody's allowed to know that I actually have, fucking tits and a vagina, so I have to wear armor that suppresses my tits, even though they're not that grand in the first place. And also, I have to marry a fucking woman, even though I have no interest in her. Blah, blah, blah. No. Redesigns of her later do not fucking count. Don't you start with me.
The Lancer version of Arturia is...
Fuck you. That's a redesign.
I know. I think it's supposed to be her. She got older or something like that.
No, it's Alt Saber. That's it. It's Arturia. That's all that is. It's the same thing with Cuchulainn. When you see Cuchulainn as a mage versus a lancer, even though technically you're believed to say that it's the same character, he makes it abundantly clear that they are alt versions of themselves when they are summoned
from a
as one
different
thing.
timeline, basically, because there's also the Berserker one, which was basically caused by Queen Maeve's lust.
Right? Because like Cuchulainn in Fate Stay Night slash Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, when you have Unlimited Blade Works Cuchulainn, he's clearly a lancer. He is in the element he is meant to be, and he's a fucking badass. Okay, he can't die unless he just allows himself to die. It's fucking insane. He has to commit suicide. I'm just like, wow, that's awesome. But he's still able to use some form of magic, runic magic, because he uses the symbol, the runic symbol of fire, on the floor and sets the whole fucking goddamn place on fire. Then you see him later on in, what was it, Grand Order? Yeah, I think it was Grand Order. That he is suddenly appearing, Cuchulainn, as a hero who is the only one out of all of the fucking heroes to not be brainwashed or controlled by this dark entity and shit like that.
Yeah.
And he's a mage. And what kind of power does he use? Runic power.
Well, that's part of the backstory of Cuchulainn. He studied under Scott. Don't know how to pronounce her name. Scathatch or the.
Don't try to pronounce the Celtic names. Let's be fair. Let's be very honest. The Irish and the Scottish all once were Celtic people whose language of Gaelic got split because of territory, because one was mainland and one was island, and they were also separated by somewhat of a mountainous terrain and stuff like that. It's not a big deal, because when you look at this, the everything about both the Irish and the Scottish, you realize one universal truth. They were once at one point one people, the Celts. And the Celts had a language that rivals that of the French language, the Japanese language, and the Chinese language to this day. The three languages that make everybody go, why?
Unfortunately, as good as this conversation is, I got to shut it down because I need to go cook some burgers for me and my mom.
Oh, yeah, no, fair enough. I actually have a few
dinner time here.
I've got a few things I need to take care of as well. So
we should do this again soon.
Well, yeah, I mean,
maybe not next week, maybe in a few weeks. Because it was starting to get good with the whole Fate talk, but
well, yeah, it always gets good once again when we go from one topic to another, and once we get on a specific topic, we bring up something very specific. We're just like, I really like talking about this.
Yeah, it's just really fun to talk about this shit because it's good for you because you don't get to talk about this on the Snatchcast.
Not often, no.
Because Schmeckel won't allow it.
Well, Schmeckel's not that big of a nerd. I mean, we can talk about comic books when it comes to Han Solo, just because, he has himself been somewhat of a fan of comic books. So it's not that big of a deal. But when it came to anime, he stopped watching when he discovered girls and hit puberty.
Yeah.
He's one of those typical cool guys from high school that you see, like, he himself is a goddamn stereotype, and it's just like ridiculous as fuck. Whereas me and Samaj, we saw a different way of existing. We got into anime and comic books at a very young age, and when we hit puberty, our crushes were fucking in comic books or anime, not the real world or something like that. Like, yeah, we had real world crushes and everything, but we were kind of on the hefty side, most likely. I don't.
Same here.
I'm just doing things with Smudge. So we just kind of like kept to ourselves because social fucking protocol demands that we can't hook up with the pretty girls in school. So whatever. Before we actually go, though, I want to acknowledge something. First of all, Fakis has been pretty much watching us almost the entire time. I just want to go ahead and say thank you, Fakis, for actually coming and checking out the two Soon fucks. Well, the two bastards, the Soon bastard and the Orc bastard.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in and watching us talk about dorky shit.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out that he has an excellent point. It's Marvel, so it's good ideas, poor executions. 100% agree. And he says that Fate is awesome. Look, if you like the Fate series, more power to you. fair enough. That's it's not my cup of tea. Type Moon has a really bad habit of presenting really good ideas, really interesting
I
characters, and then
do have to say that, like, Nobunaga being a woman in the Fate series kind of makes sense if you look at the stories about Nobunaga, how he cross-dressed.
again, same thing with Arthur. When you
Yep.
actually take care of a look at his character, it does make sense for Arthur to also be a woman in alternate stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't rage on that much. I was just like, you know what? I can actually accept this just because of what I know about the King Arthur story arcs. I can actually accept this. And this is actually a very interesting thing. But Mordred, I completely reject.
Mordred's cute, though.
I don't fucking care. I reject female Mordred. That's dumb. They should have done it in a better way. I like the story arc I had created, not just because I created it, because it actually makes sense. It makes for a more interesting story that people would love to see unfold, where Arturia and fucking Lancelot actually have a secret romance, and it accidentally creates Mordred. Arthur goes away for a long time, and they say he's on some fucking quest for the Holy Grail or some shit like that, whatever. But really,
you make a good case. You make a good case.
Oh God, it's so interesting. And then for it to be a boy, for Mordred to still be born a boy and reject mother and father for the fact that he had to be tossed aside like some, yesterday's meat, some leftover scraps of meat that nobody gave a shit about and fed to the dogs. Oh, that would have been a better story. But yeah, of course they had to go with cute tsundere fucking Mordred with small titties, and it's just like, you know what? You guys need to stop. Your lolly obsession, Japan, is a bit disturbing.
She doesn't really count as a lolly. She's just flat-chested.
No, she counts as the original concept of a lolly. Fine, she's a Patenko.
Yeah.
She's a flat-chested fucking chick with attitude. But clearly, Jack the Ripper constitutes as an actual lolly.
Yeah.
And that one's far more disturbing.
Before we shut down, I'm going to bring up the one thing that was really funny. A while back, they did a event about the Journey West because they made the monk from the Journey West into a woman, naturally, big titty monk. And basically, King David is in there as the pig. and they used every chance they got to make a Jews are greedy joke. Because he's always trying. It's kind of funny because he's finding every excuse to distribute the shekels.
Wow. Okay, you know what? That's actually a great note to end this on. Let's go with a little bit of anti-Jew fucking argument here. Well, it's like sometimes Japan goes a little too far. I don't think they're quite over what happened in World War II.
Well, I was talking about G Gundam with Lionel the other night and basically saying that were these designed by Pole because Mexico's Gundam is a fucking it has a fucking sombrero, which makes me think that the Israeli Gundam looks like the Happy Merchant.
Yeah. Speaking of Lionel, I gotta do another stream with you guys at some point. It's probably gonna be like next Sunday or something like that because, dude, I haven't done a stream on my own channel for so long. And
is your channel back in your control?
No, it's not back in my control, but I have a new unique URL for the technical new channel. Again, the core of the channel was taken from me, but I still owned the shell, and the shell itself was enough to where all the experience I had with other channels on the surface, like where I was wrenched and stuff like that, I'm still wrenched, but I have to resub to a lot of the channels, which I have been anytime I notice I have to resub and shit like that.
Just need a time and a place, and I'll be there.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to have to bring you and Lionel back onto the show at some point, just because Lionel has been cracking me the fuck up with his his fucking trap thirst and the insane jokes he keeps coming up with on both Twitter and in the fucking chat is amazing. And I'm just like, Fenris needs to show up a little more often, but I know.
I'm always watching the kill stream, and I should probably find more time to watch you guys because you guys are getting a little bit more entertaining sometimes because Ralph gets in his fights all the time.
Well, yeah, okay, but I still like Ethan. I still really
I like him, but sometimes he's looking for fights sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Ethan.
Well, this time Kraut's looking for a fight with him.
Of course he is, because Ethan was one of the people that like fucking hated Kraut from a very early start. He was Ethan Ralph was one of the biggest critics of Kraut and T. And when the exposure happened, of course, Ethan was actually in prison, but he was ecstatic that Kraut got brought down like he did and stuff, and had basically been celebrating it since he got out and everything like that. But it's not a big deal. Like, they clearly have never liked each other. It's not a I like Ethan. I like Jeff. They don't like each other. It's fine. I don't have to be friends with one and despise the other or anything like that. Like, I can be friends with Jeff Holiday and Memory Holiday and still be very cool with Ethan Ralph and everything like that. So if you want to watch the kill stream, by all means, watch the kill stream. Shit, I will walk away from my own fucking stream on Snapchat just to watch the kill stream. Did I lose you? Hello?
I better get shut down because we'll get on another topic. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll have to do this again because this was fun.
Yeah.
And